Let me ask you something. Do you think Urkin has only just realized that he truly loves Dykel, or has he known it all along and simply been too afraid to admit it? When Urkin closes his eyes, Dykel's smile is the first thing that appears in his mind. That innocent smile, that stubborn look in her eyes, and in that moment, he realizes something he can no longer deny. Dykel was never just a part of his life. She was his heart. The problem is that he realizes it at the worst possible time, because now that heart seems to be slipping away toward someone else. Then his phone rings. It's Bursin. He lets it ring for a few seconds before finally answering. Bursin's voice sounds calm, the way it usually does, but there's clear curiosity underneath it. She asks where he is, and says her family is asking about him. Urkin gives her a short answer, saying he has something to take care of and that they'll talk later. Bursin immediately senses that something is wrong and asks if anything happened. But Urkin stays silent, because how can he explain something he has barely admitted to himself? How can he tell the woman he is engaged to that his heart belongs to someone else? When he hangs up, the silence inside the car feels even heavier than before. And in that silence, Urkin finally says the truth out loud to himself. I love Dykel. But this is exactly where the story becomes even more complicated. Realizing you love someone is not always enough, especially when wrong decisions have already been made. At the same time, the atmosphere in Dykel's house is just as heavy. Her mother is sitting in the living room, quietly watching her daughter. Dykel's eyes are still red, but she has stopped crying. Her mother gently asks, Kadir is a good man, Dykel, but did you really make this decision because you wanted to? Dykel stays quiet for a few seconds before answering, because if she tells the truth, her mother will understand everything. She says yes, but even her voice betrays her. Her mother looks at her closely, because a mother always senses the truth, and then asks the question that changes the entire mood in the room. Did you make this decision because of Urkin? That question hits hard. Dykel lifts her head, and her expression turns colder. She says Urkin is no longer part of her life. But is that really true? Can someone erase a person from their heart that easily? That's the real emotional conflict here. Dykel wants to believe she is moving on, but deep inside, the pain itself proves that Urkin still matters. Then the doorbell rings. Dykel walks to the door and opens it to find Kadir standing there. There is something unusual in his face, as if he wants to say something difficult, but still has not figured out how to say it. He asks if they can talk, and Dykel lets him in. For a few seconds, Kadir says nothing. Then he takes a deep breath and asks the question no one expected him to ask. Didn't we decide on marriage too quickly? That completely catches Dykel off guard. She looks at him and asks what he means. Kadir looks directly into her eyes and says the one truth she has been trying to hide. Your heart is still with Urkin. That line lands like a bomb in the room. Dykel immediately denies it, but Kadir stays calm. He tells her that he has known her for years, and that even hearing Urkin's name changes the look in her eyes. And that's what makes this scene so powerful. Kadir is not accusing her. He is seeing her clearly, maybe more clearly than she sees herself. For Dykel, that becomes painful, because it forces her to face what she has been trying to bury under anger and pride. So now the big question becomes this. Can Dykel really go through with marrying Kadir, or will her heart stop her before it is too late? Kadir continues in a softer voice and tells her that he truly loves her, but he cannot force her to be happy. That line is important because it separates Kadir from the others. He is not trying to win by pressure. He is being honest. Dykel's eyes fill with tears again, but this time, she does not cry. It feels as if even her tears are exhausted. She says she will be happy, but once again, her voice gives away the truth she is trying to hide. And then, at that exact moment, Kadir's phone rings. He answers it and listens for a few seconds. Suddenly, his expression changes. Dykel notices immediately and asks what happened. That is where the tension rises again because it feels like the story is about to take another sharp turn. Up to this point, the emotional focus is already intense enough. Urkin has finally admitted to himself that he loves Dykel. Dykel is trying to convince herself that she can move on, and Kadir has openly acknowledged that her heart still belongs to someone else. But now, with his phone call, It feels like something even bigger is about to happen, something that could push all three characters into a completely new stage of conflict. If I were explaining this episode to my audience, I'd say this is the moment where the love story stops being about hidden feelings and starts becoming about impossible choices. Urkin finally understands the truth, but he understands it too late. Dyel wants to protect her pride, but her heart is not cooperating. Kadir may love her sincerely, but even he can see that her soul is still tied to another man. That is what makes this episode feel so emotionally powerful. It is no longer just about who loves who. It is about who can be honest, who can be brave, and who will break first under the weight of love, regret, and pride. Kadir slowly hung up the phone and looked at Dyel. His expression had changed slightly, like he was trying to measure how much the next words would affect her. Then he said quietly, "Urkin was calling you." The moment Dyel heard that name, her heart started racing. Kadir continued, "He wants to talk to you." In that instant, the atmosphere in the room shifted. It felt like fate was pushing two people back toward the same moment they had been trying to avoid. But the real question was whether Dyel would actually talk to Urkin. And, even more importantly, would Urkin finally confess everything he had been hiding? Because sometimes a single confession can change an entire life, and sometimes it only makes everything even more complicated. Dyel slowly walked toward the window and looked outside. The night was dark, but the city lights glowed in the distance. Her heart was beating so fast she could almost hear it. Under her breath, she whispered, "Urkin, why now?" At that exact moment, her phone started ringing. She looked down at the screen. The name on it was Urkin. Her fingers froze between answering and rejecting the call. If you were in her place, what would you do? Would you answer the phone and listen, or would you protect your pride and stay silent? The phone kept ringing. And finally, Dyel answered. For a moment, neither of them spoke. On the other end of the line, Urkin's voice was unsteady, almost trembling. Then he finally said the words that would change everything. "Dyel, you can't marry him." Dyel's eyes widened in shock. There was a brief pause, as if Urkin needed one more second of courage. And then he said it clearly. "Because I love you." That sentence was not just a simple confession. It was the key that unlocked emotions he had been hiding for a long time. While Dyel stood there with the phone pressed to her ear, her heart began racing uncontrollably. She had imagined hearing those words so many times before, yet now that she actually heard them, she felt a strange emptiness mixed with shock. Urkin also fell silent after saying it. It seemed like he had only just realized the weight of what he confessed. He was waiting for Dyel's answer, but at the same time he was afraid of it. Because sometimes the answer you want the most is also the one you fear the most. Finally, Dyel spoke, but her voice sounded much colder than she expected. "You're saying this now?" That question hit Urkin like a slap. He closed his eyes because he knew she was right. He had waited too long. "Yes," he said quietly. "I'm saying it now." Dyel took a deep breath. A tear slipped from her eyes, but she wiped it away immediately. Behind her, she could feel Kadir's presence. She knew he could hear everything. That made the moment even heavier. She spoke again, slowly this time. "Urkin, you're engaged." Those words cut deeply, because Urkin knew it was true. "I know," he answered. Then Dyel added another sentence that made the tension even worse. "And I'm getting married." Urkin reacted immediately. "No, you can't." This time Dyel's voice hardened. "Why not? You can marry someone else, but I can't." That question left Urkin completely silent. Because the truth was obvious. He was the one who made the biggest mistake. While all of this was happening, Kadir stood quietly watching Dyel. He had heard the entire conversation from beginning to end. Yet his face showed neither anger nor surprise. Instead, there was a deep, thoughtful calm in his expression. Before Dyel ended the call, she said one last thing to Urkin. "It's too late now." Then she hung up. The silence in the room afterward felt almost unbearable, like time itself had paused. Kadir was the first one to speak. "So," he finally said it. Dyel looked up at him. "Said what?" Kadir gave a faint smile, but there was sadness in it. "That he loves you." Dykel's eyes filled with tears again, but this time she didn't cry. Instead, another emotion took over, anger. "It doesn't matter anymore," she said. Kadir stepped a little closer and asked quietly, "Doesn't it?" That simple question shook the walls she had built around herself. But she refused to step back. "No," she insisted. Kadir studied her for a few seconds, and then he did something completely unexpected. "Dykel, if you still love him, you should marry me." Those words stunned her. "What are you saying?" Kadir took a deep breath before answering. "I love you, Dykel, but I don't want to force you into a life where you're unhappy." For a moment, she couldn't speak at all. His honesty touched her heart, yet her pride still stood in the way. "I've made my decision, Kadir," she said firmly. Kadir lowered his head slightly. "Okay," he replied. But the tone in that single word carried something strange, almost as if the story was not ending but quietly transforming into something new. At the same time, somewhere else in the city, Urkin was still sitting in his car. Dykel's final words echoed in his mind. "It's too late." He slammed his fist against the steering wheel. "No," he muttered to himself. "It's not too late." Because in that moment, Urkin had finally made a decision. And that's where today's story leaves us, right at the moment when everything is about to change. Urkin has finally confessed his love. Dykel is torn between her heart and her pride, and Kadir may be the only one who truly understands what's at stake. From here, every decision these characters make could completely change the direction of their lives. One confession has already shaken everything, but the real question is whether it came too late. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to see more deep analyses and spoilers about your favorite series, don't forget to subscribe to the channel Series World and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new video. And if you liked this video, make sure to hit the like button because your support really helps the channel grow. Now I want to hear your opinion. Do you think Dykel will follow her heart and choose Urkin, or will she keep her promise and marry Kadir out of pride? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I read your comments and love seeing your theories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video here on Series World.